everybody, Zongets 134 here.
Average Joe Squad here as always.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Hyphen, the show where we look at comic books, movies, and everything in between. And, you know, I'm, as probably most of you know, I'm an avid, top the fourth wall fan guy. In fact, he's kind of one of the bigger influences of why I'm doing this, aside from, Sal and the guys at Comic Pop, which, you know, if you like what we do, check them out. They're great. Comic Pop, back issues, Elseworlds Exchange, great stuff. Arguably, this podcast was inspired by the Elseworlds Exchange podcast. But anyway, getting back to Top the Fourth Wall. Every year, Linkara does something called Event Comics Month. It's going on right now. He just did House of M. And I thought, you know, seeing as how Linkara's doing this, I figured we might as well do something that maybe will get us a little of that atop the fourth wall money coming our way.
Hey, you guys are getting paid?
Yeah, I know. I wish. All
I
right.
wish I had YouTube money.
Yeah, you and me both. So he's doing event comics, and you know, it got me to thinking. You know, because we've done event comics on here before, or at least we've talked about them every once in a while.
We're getting ready to do The Crossing at some point.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, I forgot we're doing that soon.
I need to finish reading it, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna finish Iron War. I'm gonna finish Armor Wars tomorrow, and then I'm gonna start trying to get back through The Crossing.
Yeah, no, that's like, even if you don't get all the way through it, you and I know most of it.
I think I got further into it than you did, and you were like, Golden, why? I'm like, because I need to finish it.
Well, because for reference, I skimmed it after a while, because like it's so long.
And I think you thought I was gonna skim it. And you're like, how far are you in? I'm like, I've read every issue. I'm up to like page something. No, you're like, you've read every issue. Like, yes. Because
literally, if you told me you skimmed it, I wouldn't have blamed you, my dude.
Then you heard I'd read every issue. You're like, Colton, why?
But anyway,
that's why I'm like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Anyway, and so basically, him and I, you know, we as comic book guys, the event comic is something that either brings you great joy or great pain. Now, for the sake of talking about this, let's establish what an event comic is.
Secret Wars.
Well, I meant Secret Wars, obviously, but more like what exactly is the event we're talking about?
Secret Wars. Secret Wars.
Thank you.
It's just getting my answer. Secret Wars.
Event comics usually are their own self-contained miniseries. Usually 6 to 12 issues in between there. Some are a little bit shorter, some are a little bit longer, but usually they're their own self-entitled, self-contained book that usually is a big event that's going to happen, that will affect the entirety of the publication, depending on how
for a month and a half.
Well, depending on how, because like
for a month and a half.
Well, Civil War, to be fair, lasted, I want to say, like almost a decade. Like the effects of it, because like you had the Dark Avengers period, you had Secret Invasion was also added to it. You had the heroes, the heroic age that came after. Like I said, and some of them do, some of them don't. They also usually have what's known as a tie-in. You want to try and explain what a tie-in is?
Yeah, basically you'll have the overarching event, you know, but then you'll have like other titles that tie into it that kind of tell like something going on concurrent to it, you know, or something that like ties in and like comes back later as a main focal point.
Or sometimes just shows
basically a gimmick to try to sell more comics.
Or, you know, like if it's something like, you know, like say like No Man's Land, it shows people that aren't important to the plot of that, but like how they're being affected by the events of No Man's Land.
Would you argue that the Huntress Scarecrow story in No Man's Land?
Yeah, because like they're just there to kind of establish like the like what's going on outside of the main plot, because you know it affected all of Gotham, so you know you want to see the stuff that's happening outside of it, because which that, in my opinion, No Man's Land is a good event. I actually argue. I think most people would argue that.
I have the first 3 volumes of it. So.
Yeah, it's quite good. But as a whole, for every No Man's Land, there's like 7 0 hours, or House of M, or Avengers Disassembled, which
The Crossing,
or the Crossing is its own beast, and I kind of want to save The Crossing for when we get to it. That's going to be its own problem.
Because The Crossing problem.
Because holy shit. in my opinion, a lot of event comics suffer from kind of the same problems 9 times out of 10. One of those being
I got one. Age of Apocalypse. Because all the X-Men titles tied into that.
yeah. Okay, because basically I wanted to kind of get into what and probably the biggest one, which mostly I wanted to bring up because of Empire. Too many fucking tie-ins. And all of them being essential reading material.
And they canceled some of them. They canceled the Spider-Man one. I know that.
Empire was supposed to have like 26 tie-in books.
So I'm like, God, could you imagine the trade on that fucking
No,
thing?
it would be...
It's going to be like, it'll be like The Crossing and how thick that's a thick fucking omnibus.
Yeah,
That's
like,
a thick boy.
Oh my God, that thing's bigger than a telephone book.
And it's still not as big as my fucking Clone Saga.
No, I know,
one,
you have bigger ones than me.
Because I have all the Clone Saga shit, and we both know there's way too much shit going on in the Clone Saga.
But
that's another one, Clone Saga, technically, because that ties in everything.
Because tie-ins, in my opinion, especially because these tie-ins sometimes don't even really have that much importance to them. A lot of them is here's this character that kind of enters the plot, doesn't really do anything, and just leaves, like, say, Ghost Rider during World War Hulk, where he comes in wanting to punish the Hulk and then just leaves.
Honestly, Carol during the first Civil War.
Oh, yeah. Pretty much all of the Fantastic Four stuff going on with them.
No, that's accurate.
Because, I think Johnny's in a coma for most of...
Ben's in Europe.
Sue
takes the kids and fucking
just
splits.
Leaves. But, a lot of them just don't do anything, and then and this comes into a bigger problem when the book is traded. Sometimes the tie-ins, which are essential, aren't even in the book. Amazon's Attack, most of the actual issues of Amazon's Attack are continuations of tie-in stuff, and they didn't have any of the tie-ins in the trade. Did
they ever put any of the tie-ins in their own separate trade?
No.
That's
you want to know how they did?
I know they just did the Infinite Crisis. They put the tie-ins. They did an omnibus.
Yeah, they did a separate thing which I'm fine with, because Infinite Crisis, I own.
Kind of just tells its story.
Yeah, it just tells most of those tie-ins are.
It's not a story that's dependent on you reading everything.
Because there's also lead-in books to it, like World War III, The Death of Blue Beetle. You can read that book and you don't really need to know, because they tell you
I can read Infinite Crisis and I know what's going on.
Yeah, because I like Infinite Crisis.
Or Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Or Crisis on Infinite Earths. Well, to be fair, Crisis on Infinite Earths didn't have tie-ins, because Crisis on Infinite Earths was...
No, Crisis did.
Oh, did it have tie-ins?
Yes, there were a couple tie-ins. That's the one I mentioned. I didn't mean Infinite Crisis. My bad. I meant Crisis on Infinite Earths actually had a couple tie-ins. They just recently gathered them up into an omnibus.
Oh, cool.
That's another example of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
You don't need to read all the tie-ins to know what the hell's going on.
I mean, granted, you could read Crisis on Infinite Earths, and sometimes you're like, what the fuck is going on? But that's just because Crisis on Infinite Earths is such a big... I'll get more into that thing about Crisis, but you know how they get around not putting tie-ins in the Amazon's Attack trade? They put in a paragraph page that tells you what happens in the... Just give me the fucking tie-ins! I'm paying for a trade.
Well, no, we want you to buy the other omnibus.
You're not omnibusing Amazon's Attack!
That'll be the next hardback DC omnibus. DC Classics.
If they make an omnibus for Amazon's fucking Attack, I'll buy it, like I did the fucking Crossing. And this piece, I'll buy that piece of shit, and we'll fucking do it for this fucking
DC
book.
Classics.
No. You know what's sad is I'm going to say that...
a DC Classics, when everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm going to say that, and then tomorrow they're gonna be like, we're putting Amazon's Attack in a trade.
And I'm looking at you, I'm like, okay, Adam, give me the credit card. I'm buying it under your name.
But that's one of my I'm like, if you're gonna do tie-ins, don't make them matter, because how much an event comic usually costs you a lot of money, because those are I think usually more money than a regular issue of say Amazing Spider
then you start dealing with the people that are like, well, if I'm gonna collect everything, I'm gonna get all the variants.
Oh my god, no, yes. Oh my god. I'm already buying more comics than I'm usually buying because of this event.
And now I'm gonna buy all the you expecting to buy all the covers?
Yeah, no, because
I can count on one hand the amount of comics that I have a fucking variant for.
Yeah.
and at least 2 of the comics on there are Amazing Mary Jane because I bought variants.
I mean, to be fair, those are I get why you bought those because those are actually kind of nice. But like tie-ins should just not like do that, especially not have variants. You're not gonna read like half the tie-ins. I'm not gonna fucking read because like I can't.
Well, we're gonna read once and then over you go.
Yeah, because like I can't buy all these tie-ins. Like Empire, like that would have been like probably $400 or $500 to get everything.
And you know, I will give Marvel credit. Marvel is a little better about getting the tie-ins published in the omnibuses.
Yeah, DC
I will
not
give
so
them.
much.
Yeah, because DC wants you to track them down or whatever the hell it is, which is stupid.
Or be like, we'll collect the ad like. Thank God, No Man's Land actually had all like some of them are recollected elsewhere. Like the Nightwing tie-ins are collected in his Nightwing book. I would never fucking pick up the Azrael graphic novel if I wanted the Azrael tie-ins to No Man's Land. Fuck that. They weren't even that interesting when I read them when I went through No Man's Land.
Because isn't there a whole thing with No Man's Land? If there's like a tie-in, they don't republish.
I think so. No, you're thinking of Nightfall.
Oh, I'm thinking of I'm thinking of Nightfall. My apologies.
Oh, that's the other thing. When events are traded, include everything. I don't mind like if you did like Civil War where they did like the.
That's why I like the Clone Saga omnibuses I have because you've seen them.
Yeah.
It's honest to God everything.
I give
bonuses.
I give Marvel credit there because like no one's gonna fucking buy like compendium extra shit for the Clone Saga because nobody really likes it.
They took Clone Saga. For those who don't know, I have the hardback omnibuses for Clone Saga volumes 1 and 2. The Ben Reilly Saga volume 1. Volume 2 isn't out yet. I have it pre-ordered. It's going to set me back $120.
Yeah.
But I need to get it because I already have the first volume. But basically, Clone Saga volumes 1 and 2. That collects everything.
Yeah.
That is essential to the plot. Tie-ins, main line. You know, stuff they publish there, like the Jackal Files.
Yeah, the Jackal Files, the Ben Reilly, the Lost Years.
Then you have the Ben Reilly one, which collects all the stuff of when Ben was Spider-Man. And I'm pretty sure also, if going by the cover is any indication, it's also going to include the final thing, which is already in Clone Saga Volume 2, but they're probably just going to put it in there just as well for continuation's sake.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
And I give them credit because they actually try to put everything in chronological order. Like, holy shit. Like, it's like, some of it, like, was...
Which for somebody like me that's OCD and likes to read shit in order.
I mean, that is, but, like, with the Clone Saga, I could almost forgive them for not, like, just putting it in, like, as the books came out because, like, holy shit, that's a...
The Golden Age DC stuff does that, too.
Yeah.
Which, granted, that's a little easier. You know, like putting Batman Golden Age in order. That's a little easier.
Because, like, there was only 2 Batman books at that time.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, speaking of Clone Saga, if you're, like, I honest to God, like, they don't do it as much now. If you're doing an event, don't cram it into the book I'm already fucking reading. Like, if you're doing a Spider-Man event, like, just let the event be its own separate thing. Like, Spider Island, I'm like, you could have, like, actually kept, like, I don't mind as much, but, like, don't do something where, like, it affects, like, the majority of the Marvel Universe, but you put it in the one, like Flashpoint. Because, like, I mean, granted, that's kind of a precarious case, because that originally wasn't going to be the beginning of the New 52. But, like, let me have, like, the story that I already was reading finished, so I can actually finish it. Instead of, well, we gotta put everything on hold for Flashpoint. Oh, we reset the universe anyway, so you're not gonna get the story fucking finished. Do that! That was how Dick Grayson's 10 years Batman got ended because of New 52. Like, actually end shit if you're gonna do, like, a huge reboot with the thing, but, like...
Wrap shit up.
Yeah, not only that, like...
If only to give... If for anything, just do it for closure's sake.
Well, and getting back to put the event somewhere else instead of, like, its own book. What if I'm reading if I'm reading a decent story and I have to wait, like, two extra months to just finish it because fuck you, and you gotta get the tie-ins, or this has to be a part of the main plot. I don't care. I'm not, like, I didn't want to read the event. Well, too bad. Like, I hate that. I hate when an event happens and like the story I'm reading has to be stopped. That was the way when I was reading Scott Snyder's Batman. Like I was reading like 0 Year, Convergence happened, so they had to do the tie-in, and all of a sudden I'm like, what happened to 0 Year? Oh, it'll pick up in a couple of months. But we got to see him bop around with Azrael Batman during the Virgins bullshit.
Yeah, that's...
No, I hate that. Oh my god.
Create a separate fucking title if you're gonna do that shit.
No, like, and don't interrupt the main story I'm reading because of the event.
Yeah.
Like, if my character is not important to that event, then he can just continue on.
Oh, I have a good example of them not doing the tie-ins. And you know exactly what I'm going to talk about as soon as I mention it.
Yeah.
Spider-Geddon.
Oh my fucking god.
There's the 2 tie-ins for that.
Spider.
Would anybody like to tell me where the fuck the Spider-Girls miniseries is recollected? Oh wait, it's not.
Yeah.
I remember that the one. I think it was the first time we ever went up to Erie, and we went to that one place that you usually go to, and I found issues 2 and 3 of it, and I flipped the fuck out because I've been looking for those.
Like,
and then I had to buy issue 1 online, but it's like, why isn't it in the fucking Spider-Geddon
especially because like Spider-Verse was such a big deal and had all these different books that sprung out of it. Why can't it all be collected?
Yeah, and like the Spider-Geddon one, the omnibus is slimmer than Spider-Verse because like I know they didn't put all the fucking tie-ins.
No, they did not.
Because I could tell because I have the 2 Spider-Geddon tie-ins because they're 2 separate trades. And neither of them have the Spider-Girls miniseries, which pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because as anybody who knows, I'm a big Mayday Parker fan. Any series that has Mayday in it, honestly, God, gets my attention quicker. Makes me buy it. The fact that I had to track down the actual 3 issues because they just wouldn't fucking reprint it.
Yeah.
Even as like, because remember they did it with like Spider-Girls or they did with Spider-Women, like the Spider-Verse trade-in. Why they didn't do that with Spider-Girls, I don't fucking know. Even if it was just 3 issues, it should have been fucking cheap as shit to pick up then.
Yeah. Don't believe that Colton's a Mayday stan? Watch our episode where he talks about the Spider-Girl series.
Christ, that's honestly scratching the surface too.
Yeah, I know. That is scratching the surface.
Especially with all the crazy shit I've wanted to do with my YouTube channel.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to another topic. Because when you brought up Infinite Crisis, if you can't do what George Perez and Marv Wolfman did for Infinite Crisis, where you can actually use massive amounts of characters and don't try to be Crisis. Like when Linkara reviewed 0 Year, there are so many characters. Like you have the Justice Society getting their ass beat by Extant because they wanted to make the JSA less confusing because like they age in real time.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, don't try to do a Crisis. Like if you can't write that many characters, or for that matter have an artist that can handle that sort of thing,
and keep it coherent and keep it good,
then you need to trim down your event. Like I'm not against events being kind of like smaller in scale, like if it's good. Shadowland's not good, but like the idea of doing just all street level characters, that is an interesting idea. Shadowland unfortunately didn't do very well with it, but like if your event can only affect a certain amount of people, then that's fine. Like just try to make the event that the scale you want it to be, because like that's the problem with a lot of DC events is they try to do the Crisis thing. And they're not very good at it. Like 0 Hour, Identity Crisis. That one where like they had like these these aliens come down to Earth and suck the marrow out of their spines to create metahumans. There's a lot of DC events that I know about, but I don't know the names of them off the top of my head. Or like the X-Men story Inferno, where like they deal with demons and like everyone else gets thrown into it too. I'm like, let's not do that. Let's just let that be over there. Like you get what I mean, right? Like, because like Infinite Crisis is good, But that's because again, George Perez and Mark Wolfman can do that. Like if you've ever read their Teen Titans books, like they know how to handle a large roster of characters. Not every writer is good at that sort of thing.
Yeah.
On the other hand, don't be Brian Michael Bendis. Brian Michael Bendis has the exact opposite problem, where whereas most event writers have too much story.
He has too little.
Yeah, because he is the king of decompressing stories. Where like he will have pages where nobody, like House of M, literally there's a page where everyone except Spider-Man freezes, and there's like I think 4 pages of an issue where he just walks through these corridors not saying anything, and it's literally just panel after panel of Spider-Man looking around.
What the fuck? Makes me glad I haven't read House of M yet.
Or oh my god, Heroes in Crisis I forget. Tom King did the Watchmen thing where it was 9 panels, like the same panel. Like that was how he tried stretching.
The thing with Dr. Manhattan being on Mars. Like, I know what you're talking about. You should have just said the Manhattan thing, because I would have known instantly what the hell you were talking about.
Yeah, like because like that is like when done right, that's good storytelling.
You're not Alan Moore. Don't do that.
If you're not Alan Moore, don't fucking do it.
Don't fucking do that. In fact, don't do that regardless. Alan Moore can't do it anymore either.
But like I do not because that's probably one of the biggest problems with the Age of Ultron book they wrote back when the Ultron movie was coming out.
Yeah.
Which I love that book because literally it's an Ultron story. Ultron never appears.
Fail. That's false advertising.
Which Brian Michael Bendis. Well, that story has a lot of other problems. Don't but you get what I mean, right? Don't stretch out like a.
You have to achieve the perfect middle ground.
Yeah, and I know people are like, well, like with event comics, like it should be a big thing of mine, like, but it needs to be good. Like you can't. And not only that. These books are going to be made into trades. I don't want to read a trade where there's large chunks of the story where nothing really happens.
I'll prepare for the hate. You ready for this? Justice League was a huge movie. It didn't mean it was any fucking good.
No, you're not wrong. And, BVS was a Snyder cut, and look how that turned out.
Yeah. I'm still not looking forward to watching.
Do you have any other nitpicks you have for event comics before I continue on with more of mine?
I'm sure Sal from Comic Pop will agree with me. They hype it up like this is gonna change.
Oh, yeah,
it's gonna change the universe forever. It's gonna be felt for years. 1 month later, it ain't never fucking heard of again, and nobody gives a shit. Like if you're gonna do an event comic and you promise that like, hey, this is gonna change stuff, you gotta commit. You gotta commit to the idea. You can't chicken out the last second, or you can't like peter off with it. Commit to it. It's like I have my same feelings about that I have with a reboot. Yeah. Whereas a reboot doesn't work. New 52 didn't work as a reboot because they couldn't fucking commit to the idea. Well, they wanted to bring all this other shit back. They didn't want to commit to it being a hard reboot and like a jumping off point. They wanted to just keep bringing shit back. Yeah, to the point that it was like, why reboot then? You're just gonna bring everything back.
Or my favorite, let's make everything happen in a really small amount of time. Batman went through 5 Robins in a span of 5 years.
Yeah, fuck you. That doesn't make any sense.
Speaking of your change
this
thing,
is why Rebirth is a better idea.
You know what my least favorite change they try to do is when they want to try and make like death matter in the event. So what do? They
bring the character back in a couple months.
Not only that, they kill off a C or Z list character expecting you to give a shit. I hate that. Like,
yeah,
you try to make
there are a few comic events that I feel like they do that successfully. Like, was it Spider-Verse or Spider-Geddon that MC2 Peter gets killed off?
Is
it Spider-Geddon?
It's Spider-Verse because Morlun does that. Morlun kills MC2
you have that.
Peter.
That had impact to it,
Yeah.
Or Spider Noir getting killed.
Which
they brought him back recently.
Or Kane in Spider-Verse. Kane dies all the time and it never sticks.
Yeah, Kane's just like, whatever, why am I dying this month?
So when they killed Kane in Spider-Verse, I'm like, he's not gonna be fucking dead. Like, no, it probably will. I'm like, Kane has died like 17 times. He never stays dead. Like, one of the Spider Island plots was he got brought back as a tarantula zombie, and then he got dunked in chemicals, and he got fixed. Like, you know what? I'm indenting that. If you're doing a Spider-Man event, don't fucking kill Kane, because let me tell you, I'll be like...
It doesn't stick.
It doesn't stick. Like, he was supposed to die during Clone Saga.
Don't kill Ben Reilly.
Oh, yeah. No.
Don't kill him and then bring him back. It's something
And
stupid.
make him evil. Well, that's a Dan Slott problem, not an invent comic problem. But like Identity Crisis.
Same with Mayday. Don't kill Mayday. But anyway, don't do anything to Mayday, because then you'll just never explain it.
Well, not only that, and then like you'll piss off the many Mayday fans that like, oh, you killed her dad off. Thanks. You killed her whole universe off? Thanks. I enjoyed that universe. Yeah.
Granted, he's alive again now, because he's actually alive in the last panel of Spider-Geddon, which apparently that was Dan Slott's idea. I'm like, yeah, because he realized he pissed everybody the fuck off.
Yeah.
He's trying to do damage control, even though he's not very good at it. He's the kiss of death for any fucking series he's involved in.
Meanwhile, Tom DeFalco is sitting in his house, sipping his tea.
Sipping that wine, being like, tastes like victory.
But like Identity Crisis, the character Shadow Thief, who had nothing to do with the plot of that, causes Firestorm to explode and die. So we got a new Firestorm. That had nothing to do with the plot of Identity Crisis. They just wanted to make this dark story already darker than it already is. So Shadow Thief just stabs Firestorm, which causes him to go into a meltdown, and so he blows the fuck up.
I've got a good event comic ready for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Injustice.
Yeah,
Justice Gods Among Us.
Yeah, that was really good. Like, it was so good it became its own universe. I think they're still telling stories about, actually.
Comics. Yep. Like, that's an example of how, and that, kind of going back to what you were saying, if we're backtracking just a little bit, that's another example of how to write a lot of characters and have it be good.
Yeah. Although, to be fair,
it has its own problems.
It has its own problems, like the whole Dick Grayson dying by falling on a rock and breaking his neck. I mean, granted, I did like the idea of him becoming Deadman, but that's just because him and the original Deadman were kind of the same idea. But
yeah,
but yeah, like, cause that's good writing there. I don't know if I really count it as an event comic, because it kind of just became like its own, like, like,
no,
universe,
I get what you're saying.
Let me think if I can think of another event that's kind of like that. House of M is kind of like that, but like,
we already mentioned House of M.
But House of M actually, if I could bring that.
What about the Versus comics? You know, like Avengers versus X-Men or Fantastic Four.
I could consider those events, but the problem with those is that literally none of it matters, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because it just was there to like them do like this big crossover, and then it really doesn't go anywhere. Getting into Identity Crisis.
Final Crisis.
Oh my god! All right, another rule: don't let Grant write events anymore. Like, I love Grant Morrison, but
I've got the ultimate event comic. Secret Wars.
Well, Secret Wars.
The original Secret Wars.
Yeah, the original Secret Wars is quite good, and it does a lot of things, in my opinion, right.
I think that's the only Secret Wars I actually own, is the first one.
I mean, it's the only one that's any good. Like, most of the other Secret Wars.
I've read a little bit of the other ones, because I bought them in those like 3-packs.
I mean, there is an interesting Secret War book where it's about Fury, like, actually, like, going to war with Latveria and letting the heroes do that. And so, like, it literally is so secret the heroes don't remember it. That was kind of an interesting idea.
The one I read had, like, Doom had, like, Susan and Valeria with him.
Oh, that's the...
Like Susan was, like, his consort or something.
Yeah, that was the one that kind of did... was a soft reboot for the Marvel Universe. That was actually really good. Actually, that's probably one of the better events Marvel has done in a while.
I'll pick it up on trade here one of these days.
Another one, in fact, actually, that's actually one of the few ones where I think the tie-ins are really great, because it shows what happens in all those different battle worlds. Like, Spider-Man 2099 has a really great tie-in to it. He also gets to be in his actual costume instead of that shitty white one.
I don't hate that costume.
No, fucking don't do that. Okay.
I'm gonna buy you that costume.
Speaking of Identity Crisis, stop turning heroes evil in these events. Just stop. It never is good when you do events like that. Armageddon 2000, where the hero Hawk is supposed to become Monarch, and then turns out it's actually Captain Atom.
God, I have a couple Batman related issues with that.
Well, okay, to be fair to Armageddon 2000, they wanted to make Hawk or Monarch, which this was 1999. The reveal of who Monarch was got leaked online, and this was back in like the early days of the internet, which I don't know how that happened. But DC was like, shit, there goes our big reveal, because it was like a mystery. Well, we're gonna have to make someone else Monarch now. Bring a dartboard. Captain Adam's Monarch.
Yeah, so it
Like,
just didn't make sense.
But probably I can't stand when heroes become villains, because it's always done in a way that basically just ruins the character for a very long time until someone can fix it. Like Civil War with Iron Man. Civil War. We'll probably have to do an entire.
You know what the fuck I want to mention, and I'm not gonna say it.
Oh, you mean Civil War 2?
I want to fucking talk about fucking Civil War 2.
You want to talk about it?
No.
All right.
God, fuck Civil War 2. It's not even worth mentioning because it's trash.
Civil War 2 is so bad that
Fucking
it shouldn't
trash.
have even been an event.
When I got that comic, because I have an issue of that, because it came in that 3-pack, Doug about crumpled it up and destroyed it, and I was like, Doug, I know I want you to. But God, I it's going in the collection, sadly.
But you get what my point with Civil War, right? Like Tony, they ruined Tony Stark more or less until like the Iron Man movies happened.
Yeah.
Like I get tired of seeing characters like that, that become villains. Like Identity Crisis is probably the worst, because all right, getting a little real here with Identity Crisis. The wife of the Elongated Man, Sue Dibney, is murdered. Like, that is the main plot of that, which already that's my don't kill B and Z.
Don't shove people in the fridge.
In the fridge. Especially because this also deals with her sexual assault via Dr. Light. This.
Yeah, let's reduce sexual assault to a story plot.
Yeah, and especially because it's not like the main focus of the book isn't even about it. And she's murdered by the ex-wife of Sue and Elongated Man's good friend, the Atom, because she wanted to get back together with him. So she, it is the most, literally she wants to make all the superheroes think that there's someone going after their loved ones. Like he sends she sends a death threat to Lois Lane, and implicating that she's the wife of Superman. She sends Captain Boomerang after Tim Drake's dad, getting him killed, which led into one of the things I can't stand them doing with Tim, which is they try to make him more like Batman. But I don't want Tim to be like Batman. I like Tim to be his own person. She sends Captain Boomerang after Jack Drake, which leads into Jack and the first Captain Boomerang killing each other, which leads into a new Captain Boomerang, which I don't think they ever did anything with. I think the most he did was he was on a member of the Suicide Squad. But Sue literally jumps to conclusions that she can get back to Ray by making it look like there's some serial killer after people. That book has a lot of other issues. Mainly, they do a crime scene. They have the Metal Men, who have their own special detective skills. They get Detective Chimp. They get Batman, the world's greatest detective. And they don't find any evidence of who the killer is.
Yeah, that does make sense. Batman would find something. I don't give a shit when anybody says, oh, it doesn't make sense to the story. I'm like, it's fucking Batman.
Especially because no one bothers to check the phone records. Because she had the phone next to her. Hello?
Yeah, it's just stupid.
There's a lot of other
There's
problems with
another
Identity
thing.
Crisis.
There's a thing I can't stand with event comics when they reduce certain characters' skills because it doesn't fit the plot. I'm sorry, Batman is not a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the dude is invincible. I'm not saying the dude is the smartest guy out there.
He's the world's greatest detective. It's in his name.
I'm not saying he doesn't make mistakes. It's pretty fucking hard to fool him, though.
Yeah, like when you have a character,
the dude's prepared for everything.
Oh my God, they had Detective Chimp, who's actually arguably a better detective than Batman. Like, in fact, I think Mr. Miracle helped them too. Mr. Miracle, they had all these characters. Because they
should have got Miracle Man.
Well, I think he's Marvel.
No, Miracle. No.
Oh, you're talking about. Sorry,
yeah, I should have got Miracle Man.
You're talking about that Miracle Man.
It's all whole shit.
But there's that. There's a lot of problems with Identity Crisis. Probably probably the worst for me is that. This is another because it's a pretty scummy thing. And again, forgive me for getting into some kind of, but after what happens to Sue, the Justice League manages to capture Dr. Light. And he basically is like, I'll do this again. I'll just get out and I'll do it again. So the Justice League, without bothering to get all the other members, decides we're going to mind wipe Dr. Light to make him less of a threat. Which, does that sound like a heroic thing for
No.
Batman catches them just as
we're trying to make edgy.
Batman catches them just as about to do this. And if anyone's going to have objections to it, it's Batman. They stop him using Zatanna. Zatanna, who's one of Batman's best friends. And they mind wipe Batman too. I could forgive them mind wiping Dr. Light because
wasn't there some event comic where I remember seeing a clip of this, and forgive me for interrupting.
No, that's fine.
Where they wanted to go after Donna for some reason, and like Batman and Flash and them were all up for it, and the only one who was no was Wonder Woman, where she was like that ain't fucking happening.
I'm not sure what event that is, but I think I know what you're. I think so.
You know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
They think she's infected with something, or she's working with somebody, and Wonder Woman's like, no, whatever fucking equipment Batman's got, it ain't gonna work on her. Stop.
The other House of M, after Wanda's powers go berserk and Avengers disassembled it because they retcon, which that's another thing. If your story requires you to retcon,
you need to
rewrite
it. Go back to the drawing board.
Because part of the problem with Avengers Disassembled and House of M is they really destroy Wanda's character. They say the source of her magic doesn't exist, despite the fact that Doctor Strange used that power during the 90s.
Yeah.
They make it so that she didn't get over the fact that she accidentally created her children from magic. And because she did, and she got over it. Basically, she gets taken away by Magneto and Professor Xavier, and they go to the ruins of Genosha, which... So, she's already emotionally unstable and having fits of psychotic breaks. So let's take her to the ruins of a dead city.
It's a great fucking idea, guys.
And they spend 6 months trying to use Professor X's mind powers to help her get over it. And when they don't work, they use drugs and Professor Xavier's mental powers to put her into sleep-induced comas. Which...
Granted, I can see X doing that, but at the same time,
holy shit. And so basically Professor Xavier, realizing after 6 months this ain't going to work and Magneto's not going to let him try something drastic, goes to the Avengers and X-Men, and they're like, we're going to have to decide if we should just kill Wanda. You can't even go to a fucking shrink? The only plans are kill her or let her live like this? Hello?
Yeah, I mean, granted, Wanda has a colored past, but at the same time, holy fuck, Wanda's not evil. Jesus Christ.
What's worse is that the X-Men are all like, nah, She's gotta die. Like, holy shit. Like, I kind of see now why they thought Heroes in Crisis would be a good idea, because, like, there's apparently no fucking psychological help in these books.
Oh, so it's like real life.
Yeah. Well, except that I know that there are, like, super psychiatrists in both Marvel and DC, but
yeah,
apparently there's not. Like there's shit like that where, like, they want to try and have, like, this moral argument.
They couldn't write him in, and the closest appointment was in 8 months.
Yeah. Nice. But, like, yeah, like, I think, like, that's, like, one of my bigger problems. Like, I get having a moral argument because, you know, events should sometimes deal with those sorts of things. But trying to make the moral argument make fucking sense. Like going back to my identity crisis thing. Not only do they, like, because I can argue devil's advocate for mind-wiping Dr. Light. Somewhat. It's fucked up, but I could see in the moment, like, if they all sat down and were like, he's going to go after our families again, can we at least mind-wipe his memories of these people? You know, maybe not completely make him a buffoon.
No, like don't red sun him.
But, like, to make matters worse, they do it to Batman. Batman. They couldn't have, like, because Dr. Light wasn't going anywhere. They had him, like, frozen via magic. You telling me you couldn't all just sit down and discuss what happened? Batman's not an uncaring monster. He might have actually heard what happened to Sue and been like, I don't really like it, but I think we might not have a choice here. Like, because this was the satellite era of the Justice League. Like, Superman and Batman were, like, proprietors of it. Where are you getting, like, where's the other moral grounds here? Like, there's no discussion. It's just mind wipe Dr. Light, mind wipe Batman. That's what led to the OMAC project. That literally was because Batman's like, no, I don't trust metahumans because they fuck with my mind. I gotta make the OMAC satellite to hunt metahumans, which also was not a good idea, and it made Batman look more like a paranoid lunatic than he already does, which says something.
Yeah, really.
But I hate those kind of, like, more, like, that was one of my problems with Civil War, because they didn't tell you what the fucking Superhuman Registration Act actually entailed. It just was something that both the good guys and the bad guys did not want, like, fought over. And it just, we might have to just do one about Civil War.
I know we've talked about it. I would have to read it because I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have it either. I'd have to.
I'd have to buy it,
which I don't really want to do, but probably at some point we're gonna have to, because we talk about Civil War a lot.
Maybe once stuff with the pandemic goes down up in here, maybe we can make a venture up there and buy it. Because God knows it's at every fucking comic book store.
Yeah, it's not hard to get.
It's just a matter of us finding it and shelling out the money for it.
Some other things I want to talk. You know, let's talk about Final Crisis, because we're not doing a review of Final Crisis.
No, I don't. I've only ever seen the comic pop review, and I don't want to fucking ever review that.
Final Crisis is one of those messes where I'm like, in my opinion, with events, you really shouldn't try to do like a meta textual thing with it, because, like, as much as I like events, they're basically like blockbusters. You don't want to be super cerebral with them, because then it does weird shit. Like how the Legion of Superheroes have a miracle machine that allows them to grant wishes, and Superman builds this machine in order to stop Darkseid, who's become like an energy vampire that's gonna, like, obliterate the entire universe, and Superman defeats him by singing. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for Grant's, like, wanting to talk about, like, comic books in a metatextual sense. But when I'm reading an event that, like, is supposed to be, like, this big important thing to, like, the whole DC universe, I'm like, so how much of this am I supposed to take at face value? And how much of it am I supposed to be, like...
I'm supposed to fucking literary criticism the shit out of.
Yeah, like... Especially because that book is such a fucking joke. Like, the fucking vampires that are supposed to be, like, a reference to editors. Never mind that Grant's so big in his contract, he has it that you can't edit his books. Which, to be fair, Final Crisis could have used some fucking editing. Like, God, it's a mess, too, because okay, so Grant wanted to... Because one of the plots of the book is that the New Gods get killed. Which, First of all, you shouldn't fucking do anyways, because those are Jack Kirby's creations. In my opinion, I don't think anyone has the right to do that. He wanted it so that the New Gods did not show up in books for a long time because they were getting killed in the book The Death of the New Gods. Well, DC in their infinite wisdom was like, fuck you. I don't care how big you are, Grant. You sit the fuck down and you fucking publish this book. We'll use the New Gods however the fuck we want. So, like, when in the book they're like, well, the New Gods haven't been around a while. I guess they're dead. But I saw them, like, last month. In one of these books I was reading. They're dead now? Like, if you're gonna do a company-wide crossover, you have to have some semblance of communication. Like, that was one of the bigger problems I think a lot of the 90s superhero events had, because, like...
Or with, I know at New 52 that was a big issue, is that...
And that was Grant, because Grant was literally writing Action Comics, which was explaining the origins of New 52 Superman.
Yeah, and somebody went to fucking DC and was like, I'm trying to write, like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to write, and like, I need to know...
DC was basically like... And he's like, you're telling me you don't know what's going on in your own books?
Yeah. But Grant won't tell us. And I'm like...
You're his boss. Demand it.
Like, because Grant was arguably one of the bigger reasons why the New 52 was like it was, because he didn't want to tell anyone anything. He's literally writing the origins of this new universe, and everyone else just has to fucking guess. Guys...
That's not how it works.
Especially, like the Superman
titles... different from writing a novel where you're the only guy involved. You know what I mean?
Like... Well, especially because, like, that was one of the reasons why a lot of the Superman writers who were writing the other different titles left. Because they didn't know what they could say. Because they didn't want to contradict Grant's writing. God, oh my God. One more thing about Final Crisis. Stop trying to do this thing where you have events lead into each other. Like, the book Countdown to Final Crisis leads into Final Crisis. Countdown is so bad, literally Grant Morrison ignored everything that happened in Countdown to Final Crisis. That was like a 52 level where literally it was a new book every week. None of that mattered. Not a single fucking bit of it mattered. Linkara reviewed it, like, in his early days. I still don't know what the fuck's... It is less easy to follow than The Crossing.
Jesus Christ. And The Crossing's already hard to follow. When we actually get to reviewing that, you'll see what I mean, because it's like, I'm actually reading everything in it, and it's like, there are times where I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm reading. Like, how is this relevant to this?
I even read, like, the TV tropes page.
On The Crossing.
I don't know what the fuck happened in it. But, like...
And I know there's some Manchurian candidate shit going on in there, but still.
Well, time travel's involved, too.
Which just opens up fucking insanity.
You know what? Big events. Quit it with the time travel. Like, 0 Hour. Like, literally, the whole plot is that someone is unraveling time from the end of time. And it's slowly devouring, like, the future. Meanwhile... Another thing is devolving it from the beginning of time. Like, well, especially because, like, time is such an abstract concept. What the fuck does that mean when time is getting eaten? Like, it even has it tries to give timestamps like 13 hours ago, 12 hours ago. I'm like, please stop. Please stop. And to make matters worse, they're like, not only is time unraveling, we're also getting snippets of timelines that didn't happen. Like, now Batgirl's not paralyzed again. Or there's this Superman XP.
God, that got so much blowback when they did that.
No. And not only that, like Exton is supposed to be the villain of that piece. You know who actually the villain is? Parallax. So you're telling me, DC, you have this villain that pretends to be the main villain, who's lame and doesn't do anything. And it was so bad you had to just throw Parallax in there? Okay.
DC, what are you doing? I don't know. I didn't think I'd get this far.
Sadly, the Parallax stuff's actually kind of good because at least it goes into how like I lost everything during Coast City. I'm gonna make a universe where everybody gets what they want. I might even make new universe like because 0 Hour is actually legitimately the first sequel to Crisis, and they kind of implied that Hal was gonna try and make a new multiverse because he wanted to be like, well, the villains don't like what they want. I'll give them their own universe and they can just stay there and do whatever they want there. Which eventually was one of the reasons why they're like because some of them were like, well, we could be happy, and like he's trying to like.
He's not wrong, but I mean, he's not necessarily right.
Well, not only that, he's not God. Like he's not like a god that could like that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, he's just Hal Jordan.
Yeah. Which, but like, admittedly, like at that point, like there was actually
he was more so Parallax than.
Well, not only that, but my point was like. The story was so confusing and ridiculous up until this point, but then when Hal is just like, I'm gonna just I want to try and fix things. Like, there's actually an emotional core there, which, you know what, that'll be another thing. Like, actually have like an emotional core to your event. That makes sense because like if I don't have something to care about, I'm not gonna pay like $60 to get like all this shit. But because that was one thing I actually liked because that actually led into Hal redeeming himself. During DC The End, where like the Sun Eater where they introduced the Sun Eater and he almost destroys the solar system by eating our sun, and Hal realizes he needs to atone for all he's done, so he reignites the sun, and it ends up killing him, which leads into him becoming the new Spectre and then eventually coming back to life on his own. But like, bottom line, like I guess I kind of want like wrap this up because we've been talking about this a while.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of the problems with events can come down to a lot of things. Trying to make your event matter by killing random characters that no one cares about because you don't want to actually kill characters that matter. Trying to fix things that aren't broken, which, in my opinion, is one of the bigger problems with 0 Hour because it's trying to fix the problems that Crisis couldn't solve. Mainly the time travel stuff, like the Legion of Superheroes, the JSA. And just... overall, just stop with the random villains that make no sense because you're trying to do a look at this reveal or we're trying to fooled you or let's make a hero a bad guy despite the fact that it'll just fuck this character over.
Fucking overused trope.
Because like at the end of the day, good events like
what are you a triple agent?
Yeah, which. As you're reading The Crossing, you might find that out.
No, I know.
But, like, because, like, the good events, in my opinion, don't do any of that. Or if they do, they try to make it matter, or it's actually written competently.
I would actually argue that your points there of just everything that makes an event bad, I think that actually highlights how the good events, how good they actually are, because they actually manage to take all the pieces...
Yeah,
and they put them together into the right order, and it turns
hell, Blackest Night. I love Blackest Night. Blackest Night is great.
Blackest Night's good. Crisis on Infinite Earths, I argue, is good.
Secret Wars,
like there are good Clone Saga for the most part.
Clone Saga's more. Its problem is it's bloated.
Yeah, but just you get what I'm saying is that there are good events.
Yeah,
I argue that the problem is the reason that so many event comics are not good.
Yeah,
is because they either don't put all the pieces together or they put all the pieces together but they don't all but one. And I argue that you gotta have everything be perfectly rounded.
Yeah, or else it just falls apart.
Exactly.
I also think a lot of times it comes down to they don't get the right kind of writer for it. Like they try to go with a writer that they think he's very popular, like Tom King with Heroes in Crisis. Which no, I'm not buying that. Like we're not reviewing that for this. I refuse to buy it.
I don't want to buy it either.
I'm sorry.
I'll probably end up getting it at some point for completion, but I ain't gonna read it.
I can't condone what goes on in that book. It offends me on a personal level with the psychology shit. It ruins characters like Wally West who didn't deserve it because Dan DiDio is an asshole when it comes to to any of the legacy characters, and because there was an article a while ago where he actually basically like
admitted
it. Like, bottom line, we're not going to do an Identity Crisis. I kind of told you all what my problems with Heroes in Crisis, because it's basically the same problems I have with Identity Crisis. Which at some point we might have to review Identity Crisis, because that one actually makes me so mad. I actually want to talk about I want to literally rip that fucker apart. But as a whole, and if you notice, a lot of times those problems happen because either the writer doesn't know what they're doing, or they're just trying to do things that will drum up shock value,
or there's too many hands in the cookie jar.
Too many hands in the cookie jar, which I argue is the problem with, say, Crisis or Countdown to Final Crisis, because oh boy. But then again, that's because they were writing it on a weekly basis, so they had to have multiple writers, because they weren't going to get it finished if they didn't.
Yeah.
Which, not only that, Final Crisis is so bad. It actually has tie-in events to it.
Jesus Christ. Battle
for Bloodhaven ties into Final Countdown.
Hey, all we ever do events, so we put events in your events, so you can read events while you event.
Amazon's Attack. The whole reason that book exists is so that Granny Goodness can take over Themyscira to try and turn the Amazons into new female Furies. And where does that get resolved? Countdown to Final Crisis. The book actually is supposed to lead into a new Commandy at Earth, Commandy, the last boy on Earth. For a long time, when Linkara would view books, he would find out that they were tied into fucking Countdown. It literally is a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon with Countdown to Final Crisis. Superman at Earth's End is a tie-in to Final Crisis.
Jesus Christ.
Which, it was written long before Final Crisis, or Countdown.
In 1997.
But because...
Titanic, 1997.
Because the events of the Great Disaster in that are what causes the apocalypse that leads into Superman at Earth's End, and by extension, Commandy at Earth's End.
In 1997.
It blows.
It's exactly. So you're telling me it's exactly like the scene at the end of Hong Kong '97?
No, it actually is.
1997.
It actually is. The
same year Coca-Cola launched Surge, 1997.
I might just show you. Because it's actually
just maddening.
It's so fascinating to see all these books that lead into this Gordy knot of shit. But because as a whole, I think there are good events. The problem is you have to sift through them.
You gotta sift through this shit to get to the gold.
Probably one of these days we might have to do a top 10 on our favorite event comics, but we'll do that as a singular top 10, because I actually want us to actually make it make sense. But bottom line, I just want event comics to actually matter more, or at least be good. They don't even have to be status quo changing. You could just do an event that actually is interesting to read. I'm kind of tired of the shake-up thing, because continuity as it is, we get shooken up almost every 6 months thanks to events nowadays. So I want to say they do 3 events a year.
The timeline's already convoluted enough. Please stop.
Because with Civil War II, you know what else? Other events were going on during that. Monsters Attack. There were some other ones Doctor Strange: Last Days of Magic, where all the magic characters in the Marvel Universe lose all their magic powers. Event comics are just a mess. But I hope that whoever, if maybe someone's listening to me and they want to do a comic, try not to do what I brought up here. I know it falls on deaf ears, but just.
But you have learned.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to add real quick before we wrap up?
I think you nailed it right where I couldn't get to, because I think I brought up some decent points with stuff. As someone who writes myself, it's exactly the kind of shit that I see unfold, and I'm like, oh, I make extra sure, not to fall into this shit.
But if you want to hear us talk more about rambling about events, come back when we eventually do The Crossing. But before that, we're actually going to review a good comic, and it's one of my favorite Iron Man stories. So come back next time. We're going to do Iron Man Armor Wars. But until then, guys, I'm Zangetsu134.
And I'm Average Joe Squad.
And as always, we ask you, remember the hyphen and take care.